When I started my podcast, it was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it because I just want myself to be close to these people and share this with someone out there who might want to hear this. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Smile with Jamie. This is a very special recap episode. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Jamie. I'm your host, recording this on December 30th, 2 days before the new year 2025. And as we wrap up this year, I thought I'd just go back to all of the inspiring stories that I was able to hear and interview over the past year and share with you all through my podcast. I just can't wait to share my reflections and my own growth journey through hosting this podcast, editing and posting. Yeah, I've learned a lot and grown a lot through it. Just wanted to reflect on the year, kickstart the new year because I'm going to be releasing this in the new year. But before I do that, I wanted to share my why. People will ask me, "Oh, Jamie, why did you start your podcast?" Or "How did you start your podcast?" It was out of frustration. I'm not a new grad dentist, but I found my passion for cosmetic dentistry not too long ago. That was December 2023 when I went to Date with Destiny at Tony Robbins' event. It was just like really clear to me this is what I want to do. I wanted to find a mentor because I've heard that so many times you need to have a good mentor. I was looking for one, but I couldn't find one around me. I also had this kind of negative energy or reaction from more experienced dentists. But when I say like, oh, I want to do cosmetic dentistry, they'll be like, oh, you're one of those young dentists who think cosmetic dentistry is the cool big thing and you just kind of want to do that. But then in my heart, no, this is what I want to do. Like, this is very clear to me. Out of that frustration, I was like, you know what? Success leaves clues. Tony Robbins always talks about it. And I'm just gonna get myself closer to those people who's made it to where I want to get to. I just started to slide into people's DMs. I'm new to the world of cosmetic dentistry. I don't slowly getting to know who the legends are and whatnot, but I don't know a lot of big names. A lot of them I encounter through social media and just kind of screen through their profile, and if they give off the vibe, I see their work and their work really inspires me, then I'll just slide into their DMs and ask them. I just wanted to share this with the world so that if there's anyone out there, young dentist like me, another Jamie, somewhere in the world who is kind of feeling stuck and wants to find someone who can mentor them and or they want to do what they want to do, but they just feel like they're kind of stuck, thought I'd just share that as a podcast form, be inspired and inspire other people. There are so many CEs out there nowadays. It's so easy for us to learn the techniques of it. There's got to be a factor that's outside of just clinical dentistry that makes these successful cosmetic dentists who they are and how they got there. So that was the whole why behind it, motivation behind it, that came with the birth of Smile with Jamie. Hope that encourages someone. Like, if you feel stuck or frustrated, just take an action. Focus on what you can do. And I honestly didn't think like podcasting was such a big work until I started it. It is a lot of work. I'm forever grateful for all of those people who responded to my DM, carved out an hour of their busy schedule to speak with me, share their story with my audience. It's been such a meaningful journey, and I'm just so grateful that I'm here and I get to do this recap episode. I'm gonna have my notes because I re-listened to all of them. So let's dive right into episode 1, where we had Dr. Joyce Kahng from Orange County, California. And you guys all know Joyce the dentist has been around on Instagram a long time, and she's kind of like the pioneer in our field, and she's been doing it for many years, and I'm very grateful that we have someone who's kind of paved the way. She was so cool. When I just slid into her DM, she was like, sure, let's do it. So I love you. Thank you so much for making this happen. I took the title of The Untraveled Path because she really talks about how social media was a huge factor that brought her business, and she was able to break into the world of cosmetic dentistry, where it kind of moved away from doing general dentistry and then kind of specializes in providing cosmetic services. And I thought that was so cool because in this age of social media, I think it's key. a lot of practices are picking up on it, and now branding in dental field is so important. So she really tapped into the realities of building a practice for cosmetic dentistry. She talks about how setting a system in place so that it sets you up for success in that. It was very interesting to hear how all the resources in early 2000s and now is so different. Like I said, there are so many CDs out there, but back then she used DVDs and there was not many mentors around her, and she felt like she was alone in that. But it was so cool to hear that a lot of people on social media, how she connected with them and she would ask them questions. They were very open and supportive in that environment. So that's super encouraging, so inspiring how she also talked about consistency and authenticity and patience. All of those factors played into becoming a successful cosmetic dentist. She was like, I rely on myself to show up every day for myself, and I think that's key to building confidence in yourself. Just doing the things that you said you would do, as little as going for a walk every day or waking up and making the bed. The more you show up for yourself, the more you gain that confidence and the more momentum you have in building that trust. I think that trust is very, very important for anyone who is embarking on this journey of growth and success. It was so encouraging to hear that. She was like, it's a really great time to do this, and if I can do it, you can do it better. I think that just shows the humility that she has. I just feel very grateful that we have someone like her in our field who's paved the way when it wasn't the norm, and now that things are picking up, young dentists like me can feel encouraged and inspired to follow her steps. She's always on the platform answering your DMs, talking to you, engaging with you. If you need to ask her questions, she's always with open doors. So thank you, Dr. Joyce Kahng, so much. I always asked every guest, what would you tell your new grad self? And she said, everything will be okay. And I think that's kind of the repeating phrase that I've been telling lately. When things don't go my way, I just have to remember that everything will be okay and everything will work out. I thought that was interesting how that spoke to me at this time of my journey. Let's move on. Episode 2, I had Dr. Marshall Hanson. Oh my gosh, you guys. That was dream come true moment for me. Those of you who's been following me, you know how I took his residency end of the year, and I can't believe how this year has unfolded for me because I encountered his work like years ago. I think I just graduated or something, and I saw his post and his work, and I'm just like, this is incredible. Something about his work really just like made my heart skip. I've been following him ever since. I reached out to him and I was just so grateful that he said yes and I was able to talk to him. One thing that helped was my brother-in-law and my sister went to his course in Brisbane. They were like, oh, he's so nice. So I was like, okay, I hope he says yes. I remember feeling so nervous, oh my gosh, to interview him. But anyways, I am very, very grateful for this episode because he really is passionate about composite veneers, just dentistry, and providing the service and preserving natural tooth structure. And his work speaks for himself. Like, honestly, if you guys don't know, go check out his work, Dr. Marshall Hanson. I think if I know, then everyone probably knows. But his work is just perfect. The natural effects and just looks real, like natural teeth. And it's so cool because I got to do his residency and then I have those veneers in my mouth. Yeah, if you haven't noticed, I had a smile makeover. I will get to that. I feel like I should have a whole dedicated episode for my residency experience and the smile makeover and everything. But let's get back to the episode. Episode 2, he talks about how he had a moment where he shadowed a cosmetic dentist, how impactful it was to the patient. At that moment, he realized, like, this is what I want to do. Photography was his biggest mentor. Again, I think he graduated around when Dr. Joyce graduated, early 2000s or mid 2000s. He said, yeah, there weren't many people around him, so he learned through reading a lot of books, taking photos of his work and reflecting on each case and what to improve on next. He talked about the Marshall Hanson method. He said it came from all the problems of composites that he had, and his mind is like, he loves problem solving, so he doesn't get frustrated. It's more so like, oh, how can I solve this in a creative way? He came up with this recipe that's systematic and is predictable. It preserves tooth structure and it can work on every case that walks through the door. It was very meaningful for me to go back to this episode after finishing the residency. You have to believe in this method and put time in it and effort in it, commitment and dedication in it. He talked about how if you have passion, you'll make it work. Not cutting corners and giving your best to each patient. Through his residency, I just learned so much. He is so generous. His vision and goal is to help dentists look at composites differently, genuinely want more dentists to practice his method so that less and less people need to shave down their teeth if they don't need to. He talks about accreditation and setting higher standard for yourself. It's interesting because I was like, oh, accreditation is such a big thing, but then I think it is a challenge to yourself. It takes a lot of work and time and resources. It's all about like setting yourself to a higher standard. We strive to do better and give our best shot when there is some sort of criteria or grading or challenge that you want to overcome. So I thought that was very interesting too. Move on to episode 3. So we had Dr. Mikenah Joy Vega. Oh my gosh, I loved interviewing her. The energy was amazing. I don't even know how the time just flew by. It was such a pleasure to have her, and she practices in Texas. She really encourages young dentists. This is a beautiful time to try everything out. You don't have to know what you want to do now. There was a repeating theme of dentistry being such a fluid profession. You can find your specialization when you want to, or you can work part-time, you can work full-time, you can own businesses, you don't have to own businesses. So there's so much flexibility in our profession, and she touched on how it's important to have that hunger to learn the craft. Again, like to young dentists, you don't have to have a clear thing from the beginning. That was such a refreshing reminder. It was kind of shocking how she said you're not going to be a good cosmetic dentist until you spend like $50 to $100K on CEs. The more I dive into the world of cosmetic dentistry, I think that is so true. I kind of stopped counting how many dollars I spent on CEs at this point, but I'm just following her steps. She really emphasized how psychology of cosmetics is way bigger than the actual craft as well. Reading between the lines and trying to understand what the patients are telling you, because they don't know the dental terms, they don't really know how to articulate what they want. But us as the specialists, we have to hear those words and try to kind of translate that into our dental terms. So that was also something that Dr. Joyce had mentioned, like being able to read that, deliver that to patients is very important. And then she said she just lets the patient talk just to learn their motivation and the psychology of it, and just letting them talk as long as they want, I guess. But yeah, all of these episodes we touch on like what kind of books and CEs are good. Go back to these episodes if you haven't heard it. You're just in for a treat. And she learned through so many failures, and one thing I learned is you cannot be afraid of failing if you want to be successful. It's like so easier said than done, especially for someone like me who wants to do everything perfect the first time, which is so silly because you can't. That's the biggest growth that I've had over the past year, like just being okay with failing and not beating myself up for it. She mentioned how important it is to have thick skin in this industry and also stay humble. I just loved how she just comes in with like, you just want to hear what they want to change, and if you can, you just kind of think about like, how can I make you better? How can I improve your smile? We are the specialists and we can help them out, and we should not be afraid to suggest those options to our patients. I think that was super inspiring. I also asked her, what would you tell your new grad self? She said, just follow your intuition. And I think that's an important thing. There's so many options, so many decisions to make every day, and you just don't know which direction is right. Deep down, if you really have that quiet time with yourself, I think you are able to find the direction within you. You just have to have that belief where you're like, you know, whatever decision I make, I will make that work. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, then a better one is coming. So the level of maturity reflects that calmness in the midst of storm, in the midst of chaos, or if there's any big decisions you have to make. It comes down to taking that time to listen to yourself, follow your intuition. So I love that message. She also said, instead of focusing so much about your next milestone in dentistry or in life. Dentistry is a journey and it ebbs and flows. So again, going back to how our profession is such a flexible, that's one of the things that I came to appreciate the most. In the beginning, I was just like, I hate dentistry. And this is a story for another time, but I've really come to appreciate dentistry as one of the unique professions where you can find areas of dentistry that works for you, can fit into your schedule and the lifestyle that you want to build into. Episode 4, we're moving on. Oh my gosh. Episode 4, we had Dr. Jon Marashi. Oh my goodness. I am forever and ever thankful for him for saying yes and coming on my podcast. I first saw him at Tony Robbins' Business Mastery. He was one of the speakers and he was like, I'm a cosmetic dentist and I love skateboarding, and how he kind of talks about branding. It was so timely for me. It was like crazy because at Date with Destiny, I found my passion for cosmetic dentistry and I go to Business Mastery and I see Dr. Jon Marashi, who's cosmetic dentist in LA. He is the dentist to the stars, Hollywood stars. It was just so cool when I saw him on that screen. I was just like so inspired by his story and how he built his brand and all that. I just kind of reached out to him. We connected on Instagram and he said yes, he's scheduled, and he came on my podcast. I'm just so grateful. It's crazy. I was just so nervous and excited to have him on my podcast and hear his story. Let's dive in. I need to stop talking. In episode 4, he said, where there is a will, there is a way. That's a strong statement. Where there is a will, there is a way. That is so true. His journey is so unique. He is originally from Spokane, Washington. I had to Google where that was because I'm not familiar with US geography, but anyways, went to NYU for dentistry, and he was actually the first student ever at NYU cosmetics or aesthetic department. His mentor is Dr. John Kahng, who is the person who found out how to bond porcelain veneers to tooth surfaces. So he said he still has the magazine that he read as a dental student, and he found his passion for cosmetic dentistry. Keeping that with him and remembering where you started, I think that's so important. As anyone embarks on their success journey, it's always important to remember where you started from. That keeps that initial passion and love alive. That's such a good reminder. He also shared his unique story of working for Dr. Larry Rosenthal, how he was the mentor and he kind of just did anything and everything to work for him. Again, that hunger to learn and hunger to do better, that is a repeating theme in all of these stories. He also touched on risk tolerance for every person is different, and for him, it was not a high risk situation to open up a second practice after, building the successful practice in California. I was so curious, like, how did you become the dentist to all the stars? He said, you just build relationships or human to human connections. You build relationships at first and then it turns into friendships, and half the battle is getting them as patients, but then retaining is another thing. So for him to be able to build this practice and retain these patients for many years, that speaks volumes about his character, his heart for people, and just connecting with people. That's such an important thing that I took away from this episode. Regardless of who walks through the door, you try to build a relationship with that person. It's not about teeth, it's about the person that's in front of you. I remember hearing these exact words as a dental student, and I was like, of course you're gonna build relationships and you're treating a human being. But as a new grad, I think you go through the waves and you're so kind of focused on how to diagnose correctly and treatment plan correctly. So you kind of have this tunnel vision of their teeth. Over the years, you gain that confidence and ability to see everything. It's kind of like when you start driving, you're not aware of the surroundings and then you're just like kind of focused on like driving straight and staying on the lane. But as you get more experience, you just look around and you just are more aware of the surroundings. So I think it's similar when you're a dentist and any career, I guess. It's tough times as new grad. Anyways, let's go back to the episode. Some of the quotes that I wrote was success leaves clues. I'm gonna bet on me. Other people have done it before. All of those quotes are so important. That mindset of like, if other people have done it before, I can do it. I just need to follow the steps, follow the recipe again. It is also a numbers game, so don't withhold options to patients or make assumptions that they will not want this type of treatment. They will want this type of treatment. He had an analogy to restaurant menu, and if people are interested and they want it, then they will respond to it. I thought that was encouraging, and you just have to have the thick skin to just keep asking, keep offering, because you believe in the service. You believe that this will impact their lives in a positive way, not coming in from that mindset of like, oh, they're not going to accept this treatment because of your own assumptions. So I thought that was super inspiring for any young dentist out there who is wanting to do more of these specialized cases. Have the hunger to learn the craft. Also, don't withhold these options to the patients that walk through the door. I think everyone has the right to hear what we have to offer in this day and age, and with all the advancements and what's available. That was super inspiring. When I asked him about how do you balance your personal and professional life, he said the lines are blurred. I hope I get to say the same thing in the future. If you truly have the passion for what you do and you love what you do, then I think the lines will be blurred. And then the advice that he gave to himself, the new grad, Dr. Jon Marashi, was don't carry the same level of stress. That's true. We have so much stress when we want to achieve some goals. You lose the sight of what's around you because you're so focused on getting ahead or getting to the next goal, moving on to the next goal. It's important to learn how to manage your stress and be present, be mindful, and be grateful for what you have today. So that was episode 4. I am so forever grateful, Dr. Marashi. Thank you. I remember after hearing his story, I was like, I want to ask him if I can shadow him. He understands the desperation and the hunger that a young dentist can have. So I asked him. He responded with the yes. I remember I cried when he said yes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make this happen. And I was able to get down to his office, see him work. It was just such an honor. Just the way he interacted with people. I picked up a lot of pearls. Yeah, I'm just forever grateful. I hope to see him again in the future. So thank you. All right, so we're gonna move on to episode 5. Oh yeah, we had Dr. Becky McArthur. Oh my gosh, Dr. Becky. She is the sweetest soul, and we connected on Instagram. She was one of the dentists that was just so vulnerable and open with me. I love her page, and she was doing what I wanted to do, like all of her posts and smile makeovers, having people cry in her chair and doing beautiful composite work. She was just doing what I wanted to do, but she also wasn't afraid to just open up and share her struggles. It was like, I really want to have her on my podcast, talk about that side of cosmetic dentistry. She's in Arizona. She has such a unique journey too. She was a mother, well, she is, she is a mother of 5 children before she became a dentist. That is such an inspiring journey for a lot of women out there. If you want to pursue anything in your life, you can make it work. For her, she talks about how having a supportive husband really helps as well, but it's such a small world. One of her classmates, I know him, and he reached out and saying like how Dr. Becky and her husband's been like a role model parent couple for a lot of the classmates in her class. So she is a superwoman. I have so much respect for her. It was an encouraging moment for me to see like a mother thrive pursuing what she wants to pursue in her career. Dr. Becky and I kind of share that similarity of in our minds there's a battle. We battle with our insecurities and a lot of self-doubt. It was comforting to hear that there is someone out there who's doing what I want to do but also battles with it. But she's still showing up and doing what she wants to do and transforming people's lives with her work. Now she has bought a practice. So congratulations, Dr. Becky. And it's just so inspiring to see a mom, a fellow female dentist doing all the things that you want to do and being a boss lady. Because she had shared that like, oh yeah, I would look at something and then I'll think I can totally do that. And I think that's such an important mindset or attitude to have. Sometimes you'll be humbled by a lot of things in life, but for someone like me who battles with self-doubt a lot, that is something that I try to work on instead of feeling overwhelmed or comparing myself to other people on social media. It's an important mindset and attitude to have. You know what? If someone has done it already, I can do it. That's been a recurring theme in these stories. Dr. Becky also talks about importance of resting and how dentistry is flexible. That's the beauty of dentistry. Again, this quote I wrote, what may be a failure to you may not be a failure to the patient. That is a powerful statement. Many of us are like me, like a perfectionist. Oftentimes you want to make things perfect, but then if the patient's happy, we have to let go of certain aspects of dentistry. If they're happy, they can live their lives with confidence, then we've served them well, and that is success in itself. Don't beat yourself up. Another quote that I wrote was, you'd be surprised what you can do when you have to. Like, you just put your mind to it, you have to do it, you're not going to do it twice and you're gonna make it work. That was super inspiring. Last but not least, being able to celebrate the good in everything. Cosmetic dentistry is very like detail oriented, so people who are more detail oriented wants to do it. Those of us who are more detail oriented, we can be very hard on ourselves, and I think it's an important reminder to just celebrate the good and learn from your mistake. Do better the next time. Keep evolving like that. That was a comforting, inspiring episode. I can't wait to meet her one day in person. So moving on to episode 6, we're almost there. I had the pleasure of having Dr. David Chan. Oh my goodness, I loved having him on my podcast. He is so charismatic. The way he just talks, it's like the force. Like his presence and the way he talks, it's like a force. I have so many quotes that I wrote, and I think I had like a reel made out of his episode where he just threw all these bombs, fire words. I'm just gonna reiterate them. So he says, I believe everything is cosmetic. He just comes in with the eyes of cosmetic dentistry, and I thought that was so interesting. There's no clear line as to what is cosmetics and what is not. He just comes in with that lens and he just looks at everything with cosmetics. Such a powerful perspective. And he also said, I'm a risk taker, and I feel like all of these people who are successful, they take risks. That's just part of the equation. You just have to take risks. And he said, talent is overrated. I want my patients to value my brain and not my skills to do a crown. You gotta be comfortable to be uncomfortable. I think that is so true. Without risk, there is no success. His episode was super encouraging to me. Just re-listening to it, every time I go back to my reels or episodes, I just get fired up. That was the beauty of hosting this podcast. We had this filmed like at the end of the day after a work day. He just carved out this time and spoke with me, and it was incredible because I wanted to meet him one day in person because I kind of came across his page on Instagram and I knew that he was Joyce's mentor, and I was like, I want to meet him one day. Yeah, he came to Calgary, took his 2-day interior composite course. Yeah, I got to meet him thanks to Dr. Esther Lee, who's also a Joyce mentor in Calgary, and it's been just a phenomenal journey to be able to meet all these incredible dentists, hear their stories. Going back to the episode, he says education is power. He really, really encourages to people to get the CE as quick as you can because time doesn't wait for anybody. This message came to me at a very timely manner because I've been going hard on investing myself and investing in CEs and investing in my career. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like it's not comfortable to be stretched in these ways. Like financially, it takes a lot of time. It's not easy. Every time I see voice payments go through, I'm like, is this worth it? Is this gonna work out for me? But then it's these moments talking to people like Dr. David Chan, who says you gotta get your CE as quick as you can, and you gotta be comfortable to be uncomfortable. So these messages really spoke to me at the right time, at the perfect time. It just gave me confidence. Yeah, I'm on the track. I just gotta embrace this as part of my journey. One thing I noticed from his episode is that his words have so much like positive energy to them. He speaks positively and he's like, it always happens. It always happens. I tend to jump into, oh my gosh, what's gonna go wrong? What is the worst case scenario? Because my mind is in the survival mode and I just want to be ready when there's problems and I want to be able to problem solve it. So I just go into that survival mode. His mindset is so powerful. Like, it always works out. Words have power. It is something that I've been working on as I grow in my personal and professional journey. That's one thing that I see the shift in the most. My mind, what kind of words that my mind produce. It's like a muscle that you have to build. Exercise every day to build strong muscles. It's the same in your mind. You have to speak the positive words. You have to practice speaking them so that you build stronger muscles and you are quicker at thinking those positive words. It was just so timely for me. Thank you, Dr. David Chan, again. We're gonna move right along to episode 7, the final of the year. So Dr. Rhodri Thomas from Wales, UK. I was so grateful that I was able to hear his story because his story is so unique as well. I remember just taking art of resin. I was like, oh, he seems legit. I wanted to take like composite course and it was in Toronto and I was like, oh, it's in Toronto, I'm gonna go. But then I didn't really know who he was, but I just saw his work and I'm like, okay, this guy's legit, I'm gonna go learn from him. I do not regret anything. I think it was such a strong course to start off my cosmetic dentistry chapter. I just remember feeling very overwhelmed day 2, but but his course, it really woke up the artist in me. I wanted to be an artist as a kid and I feel like his magic kind of worked on me. It was cool to hear that that was his number one goal to all the dentists who come to take his course, is to inspire them in that creative way and artistic way, because that worked on me. He seemed so young. He looked so young. But his journey is something, man. If you haven't heard it, you should go back and listen to it, because he talks about how it all started from the free pizza. If you've heard it, you would know how he took action. So before I get into his story of taking action, he talks about how important it is to find your passion early. I think there is some truth to that. Yes, you don't have to know what you want now. If you don't know, like, you don't have to get stressed about it, but if you know what you want, then you just go 100% in. There is some sort of momentum in that. And so I think that's what he was talking about. And he also talks about talent versus dedication. Dr. Rhodri Thomas, when you look at his work, it's like perfect and you're like, okay, it's because he has an artistic talent. That's why he's able to do it. But he says dedication triumphs that talent. There is some truth to that as well. If you really believe in it, hungry to learn the craft and just keep practicing and dedicate your time into it, there comes a time where you will get to that level of excellence. That is a recurring theme. I don't think I have to point that out, you guys. One of the things that really stood out to me was his preparation before opportunity. He started preparing lectures even before anyone has asked him to lecture. I think that's incredible. So unique, extraordinary. And he said he's seen one other person who's done it, and that's Dr. Andy. That's so funny because they teach together. Going back to the recipe, he talks about this recipe. Number 1, working hard. Number 2, having direction, and number 3, taking action. If you want to go hear all in detail, go back to the episode, please. But he says taking action is the most important piece of it. He just reached out to Dr. Appa's office in New York, and he just got an opportunity to see him, his office, and got an opportunity to go to Dubai and see him. And it's just incredible how opportunity shows up if you take that action. His philosophy and practice is creating beauty by recreating nature, and his work just reflects that. He says, like, it's like miniature artwork in people's mouth. He's creating artwork in people's mouth. And I think that's such an artist thing to say. The artist in me gets so inspired by that because I'm like, yeah, I'm creating artwork in people's mouth. There are so many like pearls that he talks about in cosmetic dentistry and resin, specifically because he teaches that course and he is the magician of resin. He said, I'm interviewing my patients as much as they are interviewing me. So he really takes time in the consult process to set up for success, telling patients about what their future might look like and whether they choose porcelain versus resin. Oh my gosh, I love this part. He said he touched on the mindset that you should have as a young dentist, kind of surfing through social media. You're interested in doing cosmetic dentistry. You see all these perfect work. It's so easy for us to get into that comparison mode. But then he talks about how important it is to just ask yourself, how cool would it be if I can do it just like that? That's something that I'm going to take away with me forever. There's been a recurring theme of if someone has already done it, we have same tools and skills and everything to do it. How cool would it be if I can do it like that? So it's also the positive mindset of like recreating what people have done. And if someone has done it, then I should be able to do it. It's the matter of really dedication and commitment to pursuing that excellence. It was such an important reminder for young dentists on social media as we get bombarded by all these perfect snapshots of before and afters. He also touched on like how communication is so important and understanding patients' vision. Again, that ties back into episode 1, episode 3, like understanding their vision, what they're trying to bring to the table, but also staying within one's boundaries. And I know Dr. Joy has mentioned like in different states or regions, like there's different standards of beauty. It might not be what is considered as beauty in one area, but if the patients want that and you are more comfortable providing that service, it's all about staying within your boundaries and doing it safely for the benefit of the patients. There are so many pearls. I think you should go back. He talks about photography and how having screen and mock-ups and just pre-visualizing and pearls for cosmetic dentists to set up for success in their treatment planning and delivery. We talked about how it is important to have a level of obsession, and especially in the early years. That really resonated with me. I went to Utah for 4 weeks to do residency with Dr. Marshall Hanson, learning his method. I just found like I'm getting obsessed with this method. Like I'm like obsessed to learn the method and the steps, and I want to understand it well. And my brain was just like full of his method, and I just found myself like spending like 10 to 12 hours a day doing the same thing over and over, and no one is pushing me to do it. Like I'm doing it, and I even went on weekends to do it and to practice it. It's not always just like happy moments, but despite the challenging emotions, I still kept showing up. I was just so hungry to learn and do better, and I still am. And I think that was a huge takeaway for me to recognize that I have that level of obsession and passion for it. Gives you clarity, like this is what I want to do. That was really valuable time for me, and I think that ties back into that message of like importance of having obsession, especially in the early years, and finding your passion. For me personally, like I'm excited to see like where my journey takes me. I have a very unique journey of my own, and I'm so grateful that I can share my journey with you guys through this platform. I remember talking to Dr. Joy in episode 3, like we were both just surviving through dental school, and that is a-okay. You can just survive through the 4 years and then figure out what you want. Everything is very unique. You don't have to compare yourself to any other people around you. Keep pursuing what moves your heart, and there are different seasons of life. Some seasons you're just surviving. Some seasons you're thriving, you're blooming, you're just gaining momentum and moving forward. Some seasons you need rest, you need a break, you need to unplug. And so just embracing each season as they come, just cultivating that healthy mindset of growth in every season of your life. Last but not least, Dr. Rhodri closes his episode with telling his new grad self, like, keep doing what you think is right. As I wrap up this recap episode, I tried to connect each episode into the lessons that I've learned, my own journey as a cosmetic dentist. It feels weird to even just say that out loud, but I'm just gonna claim it. I've just learned so much, and when I started my podcast, it was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it because I just want myself to be close to these people and share this with someone out there who might want to hear this. And I think my why has moved these successful dentists, their hearts, and to respond and show up and spend their precious time with me. And so I'm forever grateful, and I'm excited to share that season 2 is gonna come in 2025. Honestly, it is a very fluid process for me. Like I have other commitments right now. I just just take it at my own pace. I don't have a team of editors dedicated to me, and so I'm reaching out to dentists myself. I'm editing everything, and I'm so type A, so I want to like take out all the ums and pauses. So it takes a little longer, but I'm gonna try my best to release them more consistently. I have so much respect for other podcasters who do that on a weekly basis. More than anyone, it has served me along this journey. It has confirmed me, given me clarity. After every episode, I feel like I've been energized. I feel like I've been fed with passion and inspiration. It's been such an exciting journey for me, and I can't wait to continue to do it. If you have any recommendations as to who you want to hear about their story on my podcast, slide into my DM and let me know. If you've enjoyed my episodes, please share, like, comment, share it with your colleagues, classmates, anyone and everyone. Your support means the world to me. I just want to thank you all the guests, all of you who's tuned in with me, even though I don't come out consistently. I'm so thankful for those listeners who show up for my episodes faithfully. So thank you so much. So I'm just gonna end this episode with some reflection. I just want to encourage you all to reflect on your own journeys and your goals as we kickstart the new year 2025. Reflect on the year of 2024. How have you grown as a professional this year, and what skills or lessons are you excited to carry into the new year? I think that's a positive, good, insightful reflection question. If you want to share that with me on the comments, feel free to go ahead. I will end it with that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you all. I'm so excited to see how 2025 will pan out and where I'm gonna be on December 31st, 2025. I can't wait to just continue sharing my journey with you all. Stay passionate and stay inspired. Okay, bye.